Hello everyone. Today we are going to deal with the second lesson, the poem number 2, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum by Stephen Spender. We will take a few classes to complete this, and this entire lesson is divided into a few parts. Today what we are going to do is we will try to know the poet, the way of writing, what are the major themes of his poetry, and what in particular this poem is about. Also, we will have the background of the poem and the basic content or the theme of the poem, and we will read the poem as well today. Okay, so let me introduce the poet to you. Stephen Spender, a British poet, was born on 28 February 1909 in London. He attended the Oxford University and fought in the Spanish Civil War as well. So he is the co-founder of the magazine called Horizon, and he was the editor of the magazine from 1939 to 1941. As an English poet, novelist, and essayist, Stephen Spender concentrated majorly on the themes of social injustice and the class struggle in all of his works. Born and lived in a tremendous time of upheavals, the two world wars, and the kind of atrocities and upheavals in all parts of Europe. Stephen Spender has undergone the same trauma of the post World War European sensibilities. You can understand that the post-World War has amounted to a lot of industrialization, a lot of formation of slums, and the divide between the haves and the have-not had increased tremendously. So the wide gap between the rich and the poor was suffocating to anybody who lived during that period. Stephen Spender, with his sensibility towards social change and a modern world, always depicted that theme throughout his works. So he could not accept the divide between the rich and the poor ever widening, and the kind of struggle and deterioration of conditions of the poor people. The industrialization and the rapid urbanization in Europe after the post-World Wars has amounted to the creation of numerous slums and labor classes. And quite often they have been completely marginalized, and they could not enjoy any facilities that the rich could. Rather, we can understand that the sensibility of the humanity in general and sensibility of the government in particular towards the slum and the poor people could not be accepted in any standards of humanity. There was no point of equality, justice, or fraternity of any sort. So, in this poem, Stephen Spender is trying to call attention of the concern towards the pathetic condition of the slum children in an elementary classroom. Pointedly, we can say that he was completely at a feeling of sorrow seeing the state-run school where the slum children are studying. Mainly, the slum children are deprived of all the facilities which are otherwise enjoyed by the capitalist community or the society, and these children are marginalized, not even given the standard or the care of being a human being. So, living in such a squalor and complete deprivation, these slum children are kind of a face of the poorest marginalized community, and also a symbol of the dividing or ever widening gap between the rich and the poor, which existed in Europe. So we can say that the theme of Stephen Spender's works, especially the poems, are that of a call for social justice. Rather, we can say that he was fighting against the class inequalities and injustice meted out upon the poor and the marginalized. In this poem, what we are going to see is the description of a school in a slum, elementary school in a slum, and the pathetic condition of the school, the pathetic condition of the children, the physical ailments, the kind of mental trauma, the lack of facilities, the life in the squalor. There is no future bright for them. All these atrocious situations have been brought in through the poem with various powerful images, similes, metaphors, etc. So Stephen Spender is trying to call attention of the authorities, whoever that be, the public, the government, the education department, to the saddest condition prevailing in the slums, and especially in the case of the slum children. As a citizen of the country, each child or each person has the right for equality of opportunities in the country for life and development. For these children, education is unachievable, and for a namesake school like in the slum, do not provide any kind of facilities for the slum children. And so it is quite heartbreaking for Stephen Spender to see these kinds of atrocities meted out upon the poor, and the callousness, indifference of the authorities towards these poor lords. So he is a man of modern age, and he's always I can say he's always looking forward for the kind of social justice prevailing in the society, and he wants a new social order where the rich and the poor are treated at par and all have the equal opportunities and equal education and equal right to develop themselves into the world. So this poem is a clarion call for such kinds of social justice to prevail, such kind of secular democratic attitude towards the poor, and to plug the gap between the rich and the poor. So his attitude is socialistic, approach is quite human, and his interest is for the equality of all human beings. So here slum children are the representatives of the marginalized society. The capitalist society marginalizes them into such deprivation and never even care or treat them as real human beings. So try to understand the poem in that respect, and the World War background and the atrocities or the problems or the sufferings or the deprivation or the marginalization, or even we can see the poorest condition of the slum people treated just even not like the animals, is being carried out through powerful images in the poem. So shall we have a reading of the poem? So may I request all of you to look at the poem and let us go through it with this understanding in our mind. So, an elementary school classroom in a slum. I would like to invite your attention to the fact that the title is An Elementary School Classroom. It is not the elementary school classroom. So he just wants to make this as a representation of many of the schools in the states in this slum, bad condition. I mean the slum, schools in the slum. So he is calling attention to the authority, the educators, the government, the inspectors, to the fact that a majority of children or population in the slum are deprived of the major facilities which the rich enjoys. As human beings, the sons and daughters of the same God, each one has the right to opportunities and equality of all the facilities available on earth. So let us read the poem. Far from the gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, their hair torn round a pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the standard unlucky hair of twisted bonds reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in a tree room other than this. On sour cream walls, donations Shakespeare's head cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, belled flowery Tyrole's valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their future is painted with fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far from rivers, caves, and the stars of words. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with the ships and sun and love tempting them to steal, for lives that slyly turn in the cramped halls from fog to endless night. On the slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space a foggy slum, so blot their maps with a slum as big as doom. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break, oh break, open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make the world run azure on the gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into the books, the white and the green leaves open. History is theirs, whose language is the sun. Hope you could understand a vague idea about the poem. It's a call for social equalities and equalities of opportunities, or we can say social justice and equality of opportunities, the fundamental principle of socialism. So this poem can be a fight between or a depiction of the gap between the socialistic pursuit of the humanity and the capitalistic outcome of the reality. So, capitalism and socialism. Socialism stands for social justice and equality of opportunities, where the capitalism makes the great divide between the rich and the poor. Now, with this information, shall we go again through the lines of the poem? The first part of the poem describes the school classrooms and where the children are sitting. So it's a description of various children, their physical conditions in the first stanza. And you can see there's a girl, there's a boy with a deformity, and there are some other children as well. So look at the phrases which are used for their physical ailments and their poor conditions. We will read it once again and we'll wind up for the day. So let's see. Far from the gusty waves of development, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round the pallor, that tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy, what does that mean? With the rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of the twisted bonds, reciting his lesson, inheriting his father's gnarled disease from his desk. At back of the dim class, unnoted, sweet young child, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in the tree room other than this classroom. Now there's a description of the wall of the classroom. On saccharine walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, riding all cities, civilization, belled flowery, Tyrole's valley, the beautiful valley in the world, open-handed map in the classroom, awarding the world its world, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, limited, completely shut up in the slum, where all their future is painted with fog. Now, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words, education. Now, so for these children, these donations and wonderful things in the classroom have no value, but still it has the value because it will make them steal and have a time's meal. Surely Shakespeare is wicked therefore, and the map a bad example, with the ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. For lives that slyly turn in the cramped halls from fog to endless night. On their slag heap their body. These children wear skins peeped through by bonds and spectacles of steel, with mended glass like bottle bits on stone. All of the time and space are the foggy slum, so blot their maps with the slum as big as doom. Now, who is responsible for this situation, and what action should be taken? Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut open their lives like catacombs. So what should we do? Break up until they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands. Let their tongues run naked into books. The white and green leaves open. Let them get education and let them get all the opportunities. Because history is theirs whose language is the sun. History can be made by only those who are enlightened. I hope you understood a bit more about the poem. I request you to read it again and again and try to capture the images. And we will be right back in the next part of the lesson another day. Thank you. Have a good day.